Matthew, you're next.
Looks like that's on.
Go ahead.
Well, I think we can agree it's all been a long day. So thankfully my remarks are brief. Chair Murphy, Vice Chair Nadusky, and members of the committee, thank you for allowing me to testify before you today. My name is Matthew Lehner. I'm a leader and activist from Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Yes, I did get up at 4 in the morning to get right here when this hearing was at 9 a.m. this morning. I additionally have the honor and privilege to serve my fellow students at the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire as a on-campus student senator. Today, I rise in strong opposition to Assembly Bill 378, which will effectively ban trans athletes from participating in college sports. Well, folks, here we go again. Another day in Madison. Another day of this out-of-touch, gerrymandered Republican majority attempting to pass homophobic and transphobic pieces of legislation directed at the thriving and vibrant community of queer young people that call our state home. A community which I am damn proud to be a part of. And I should be in school today. I should be working towards my college degree. But when you attack my community, and when you attack trans people all across our state in the most disgusting way possible, I simply cannot sit back and stay home and allow you to do so. But my friends, why should we be surprised? After all, this Republican majority hasn't been working to solve our problems. Nothing of substance. Just pieces of legislation that attempt to address their chronic obsessions with the private parts of young people. And consider the source. One of the authors of this legislation equated folks participating in a Pride in the Park event in Watertown to the neo-Nazis who showed up to intimidate people at that very same event. That's in a tweet. Don't quote me. You can look at her Twitter account for that information. This bill is disgusting for many reasons. To begin, and excluding all of the misgendering, misuse of language, transphobic tropes that have been said by Republican members of this community today, excluding all of that, it even has transphobic tropes in this bill. The quote-unquote a ban on males participating in female sports. My goodness, you all, you must all think that we're dumb. I think we all know what this means and the transphobic nature of it. Secondly, if this is enacted, and I know this has been discussed heavily throughout the hearing today about NCAA policy, well, it does matter because if this bill were to become state law, it would put us in direct contradiction to NAACA policy, which would open up a can of worms. And, and this organization has taken appropriate measures and steps to ensure fair competition and inclusion of trans athletes. It won't matter whether a trans athlete meets their criteria. No, they have to meet your transphobic and misguided criteria. Lastly, another thing that actually has not been mentioned today, but is particularly concerning, if this bill was enacted, you would have to, the changes in this bill would be implemented next semester. Seriously, guys? Have you no shame? Way to tailor this policy around students and introduce it right in the middle of a school year where already so many people are going through so many changes entering college. I'll end by saying this, and I know it might blow your close-minded Republican brains to bits, and it's been said frequently out today, but here I go. Trans men are men. Trans women are women. It doesn't matter what bill or policy you write or what you try to do to change reality, this will always be the truth. I'm proud to stand on the right side of history today. Regardless of the polling, regardless of focus groups or what special interests say before you today, I know that I am standing on the right side of history, the cause of human rights, and I'm proud to stand by that. No matter how upset or triggered that makes you, because I've seen it a lot today, I know you won't, but please vote down this misguided bill and start working to solve actual problems that your constituents in Wisconsin face. But I know that you won't do that either. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to your questions.
Representative Shankland.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Matthew, you piqued my interest when you said you got up at 4 a.m. to come down here today and you skipped a whole day of classes, and I really appreciate it as a young leader at UW-Eau Claire. Can you tell me, did you tell anybody else on campus or off that you were doing this, and did anybody mention to you their views on this legislation and how it might affect their views of Wisconsin as a whole and how they feel living in Wisconsin.
Yeah, thank you, Representative Shanklin, for that question. So I did, I have the privilege of being a student senator, and one of the things we get to do is make announcements. I always like to try to make announcements because it's a little time where I get to add my, 2 cents in opinion and kind of what is going down in Madison, and I am proud to do that. So one of the things I did was, as soon as I found out about this Monday through Twitter and it was going around on social media, I immediately informed our body that this was taking place, that they were taking up not just one, but 3 anti-LGBTQ pieces of legislation in the state capitol, and one particular concerning this one I'm testifying on today, which would ban college athletes. And there was a lot of questions, and there was a lot of disgust. And to be truthful with you, if this bill does pass the Assembly and the Senate, I feel it is our duty, and we will have discussions about this, to issue a possible resolution to condemn it. Because this is directly affecting the students that call the University of Wisconsin Eau Claire home and all across the state. And I'll just add, too, there have been also people that have been sitting at home. I've encouraged people to submit testimony to this hearing. And I, at least a couple of, from what I heard, submitted testimony, and I hope you received that today. And I'm proud to do that. So.
Thank you very much for sharing that with me, and thanks for being a student leader and sharing other student voices with us here today.
Thank you.
Seeing no other questions, thank you very much. Whoops. Oh, excuse me, Representative Nowitzki.
Matthew, thank you for being here. I appreciate your passion. I also got up before I am today to be here, and I'm on another committee that has a similar bill. So I've heard lots of testimony today, and I come here with an open mind every day to listen to everyone's perspective. We earlier talked a little bit about free speech, and as a campus ambassador, and you're in the student government, would you say that there is tolerance at UW Eau Claire for conservative viewpoints about trans issues?
I would answer the question by saying, yes, there is tolerance for conservatives on campus who may hold different views. Do I think it is the by and large view of young people today? No, I don't think so. And I'm frankly thankful for that. And we've seen that through the voting behavior of young people. But we have college Republicans. They are allowed to receive segregated fee funding. In fact, they applied and received $500 and went through a fair process. Our student senate conducts that. And we looked at that, and we funded college Republicans, just as they funded college Democrats. We also have a pro-life group on campus, too. Everyone has the right to speak freely and have their opinions. But one of the things that I've learned in my studies as a political science major, and I think I've come to the conclusion this year, is what that free speech right also allows is for me to push back on those opinions. And so as long as we have, both those ways, and we have, the ability to have, a way to push back and a way to put forward possible opinions, I'm all for that. However, I think, though, when it comes to policy making, I don't think human rights are up to debate. That's just my opinion. And I believe that, this bill directly attacks the human rights and human dignity of individuals. And I don't think that is up for debate. But anybody is free to come to campus to speak. Anybody is free to speak their mind. There is no free speech issue on campus.
Well, the reason I asked is, as you've heard earlier, and I thank you for waiting this day out, I've been in your position before, and I know what it's like to wait 7 or 8 hours to testify on the other end. So it takes a lot of patience, and you're very committed to your cause, and I respect that.
Thank you.
But earlier you had some criticisms of people's misuse of language. And I guess if you support free speech, I'm concerned why you wouldn't respect some people's freedom to use the language they want to use.
So you all as committee members are free to say whatever you want. But at the same time, one of the things that I would ask, and I think people in this room, and you saw many people trickle out today because, frankly, they have been traumatized and have been hurt and have felt excluded by a lot of things that were said here. I don't know if some of you were watching that in my seat. I apologize. Jody was watching me and was like, Matthew, settle down, settle down.
That's Representative Emerson.
Representative Emerson, sorry about that. Sorry about that. There's a lot of passion on both sides. What I will say is you're free to say whatever you want, but what I would ask for you is, regardless of whether you agree or not on the trans issue, to just simply respect people. We had a gentleman here that referred to Caitlyn Jenner as Bruce Jenner, directly misnaming somebody. That's disrespectful. It's his right to do that, to speak up here and to say, frankly, pretty terrible things. But I would ask, as somebody who is queer, and also a lot of the people in this room who are trans, to at least respect it. You may not agree with it, but respect it by using the right language, and at least try to.
Well, I think part of the issue is that we disagree on what the right language is because we have different beliefs. And I'm here to respect everyone's beliefs in this room, and I would also ask that you respect other people's beliefs. Thank you very much. Thanks for your testimony.
So I referred to Bruce Jenner earlier, but I was referring to Bruce Jenner when Bruce Jenner referred to himself as Bruce Jenner. So I'm I'm just trying to put that into the context of time.
Well,
I'm referring to it at the time when that person identified themselves as Bruce Jenner.
It is not appropriate to refer to a trans individual by their dead name. That is very discourteous.
Representative Emerson.
Thank you very much. Good to see you, Matt. Good,
Yes.
Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
Thanks for sticking the day out. A couple of questions for you. I know we've talked about federal funding a couple of
Yes.
times. So as a student, without you maybe giving like personal, credit history or whatever, do you feel like college would be out of reach financially for you if federal funding was cut off to UW-Eau Claire?
So for me personally,
Or for students, as a student senator, as students
Right.
that you represent too?
So, personally, briefly, no, because I am very blessed and fortunate to have parents who, make a modest income and who are able to send me to college and who have saved up to do that. And I'm very fortunate and grateful of that because it has eased a lot of the burden off of me as a young person, and doing everything that I do. And it's eased a lot of stress. Now, to address your question about other students, absolutely, this would affect other students. Should this law be enacted, we would be at risk of losing those federal funds. I think I earlier mentioned, $50 million goes to UW-Eau Claire. Those are critical dollars. And unfortunately, it is in my opinion, I think what we've seen from the budgetary process is you all have kind of played politics a little bit with our university system. And a lot of that funding is under question. And this would put places like UW-Eau Claire at risk of closing. I mean, we talk about Pell Grants, work programs, and, just a general tuition assistance for students who are not as fortunate and privileged as I am. Not a lot of people would have that opportunity. And to the people who say that, it's an if we be at risk of funding, and it's not for certain. With the way things are in Washington, because yes, it does matter what goes on in Washington, because it does affect us all what happens at the federal government. If those, policies are put into place which would mandate us to, would be in contradictory of the bills that we're discussing today, we would lose federal funding. And this would mean campus closures across our state and would mean denying so many underprivileged people the incredible opportunity to get higher education.
Thank you. The other question, and I think, as somebody who's a little bit older than you, it takes some of us a while to wrap our brains around different ideas, new ideas. I think I learned as much about, Mom, you shouldn't say that, and when my kids were in college as I did when I was in college. Mm-hmm. So I think that's part of what we do as humans is learn and grow and change.
Absolutely.
To kind of talk about the people using pronouns and correct terms and things like that in free speech. I know that your name is Matthew. Would it offend you if I constantly called you Michelle?
Of course it would.
Do I have the right and ability to do that?
Absolutely.
It doesn't, even though I have the right, it doesn't make it right to do that. And so
Yes.
it's respecting you as an individual to call you Matt or Matthew. So
Absolutely.
yeah. All right.
And I'll just, if I just could briefly respond to that last question, I'm still learning. As a queer individual, I would like to think I have a pretty good grasp on queer issues and the trans community because I have a lot of queer friends, and I'm very fortunate to be in a year-long plus same-sex relationship, and my partner has a lot of transgender friends, and I've learned from them too. But I am still learning about these issues. I'm very privileged the fact that the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire has a strong Gender and Sexualities Resource Center, one of the top in the country. We have won awards for being one of the most inclusive campuses within our state in regards to LGBTQI plus people. Every year, student senators have to go through safe space training to get a refresher on LGBTQI plus issues. And there were things in this most recent training that I didn't know. And so I think, though, obviously, if somebody makes a mistake, hey, I make mistakes about pronouns all the time. I'm still getting used to the they, them. Sometimes I will name drop a he or a she, but I will quickly correct myself and acknowledge that mistake and try to do better the next time. And I think that's important for all of us to do here, and it is not something that we should lose sight of. So, thank you.
Seeing no other questions, thank you.
Thank you very much.